Hello, everyone, and welcome to the channel. This is Tucker Talk TV. I'm your host, Carl Tucker, and I've got my buddy Ethan Wallen with me here today, and we're going to talk about some stuff, and we're actually going to do a test, man. We're going to do a test that's going to show us how conservative or how liberal you might be.
Thanks for having me back.
Go ahead, buddy. Hey, Ethan's got some breaking news for us.
Well, we were sitting here talking and setting up this podcast, and I happened to pull up my phone and read this headline that an hour ago from the New York Times, ABC pulls Jimmy Kimmel off the air for Charlie Kirk comments after
What?
pressure from the FCC.
What? Wow.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
It just says that he faced criticism from the chairman of the FCC for remarks about the motives of the man who's accused of killing Kirk. And they pulled the show indefinitely after conservatives accused the longtime host of inaccurately describing the politics of the man who is accused of fatally shooting Kirk. It says that they're owned by Walt Disney. And what else does it say here? Trump said that it's great news for America.
Of course, Trump would. Well, here's the thing. When the shooting first happened, people on the left want it so badly. When I say people, I shouldn't say people. I should say MSNBC, CNN, a couple other news stations. They want it so badly to pin him down as a MAGA guy because his parents and his family apparently are pretty conservative and MAGA. But then it kind of shifted, their narrative kind of shifted a little bit, and please chime in if you think I'm wrong. Their narratives kind of shifted a little bit when it come out that the transgender, what they called roommate at the time, because they weren't
Right.
sure about the relationship. When he come in, then it went from this MAGA guy to this gun freak.
Right. Well, there was the Harvard law professor that was making some comments about the shooter being ultra MAGA, and I think that everybody on the left wanted the shooter to be MAGA, and all the MAGA people wanted the shooter to be a trans furry. So I think one thing that's certain is that the shooter is nothing that either group wanted him to be. I don't think that
I think he was a conglomeration, kind of a mixture.
right.
But go ahead.
Well, there's been some photographs emerging of him in some Trump clothes and with guns and all that stuff, and then you have the transgender roommate and his parents saying that in recent years he became pro-gay, pro-trans rights.
Right.
And I haven't in the wake of all this, one of the things I haven't really read about was the shooter in question, because I don't want to say that I don't care, but I don't know. It's just it's icky.
Well, I think when you're talking about the clothing, the one picture they showed of him was a picture of him standing there in a MAGA shirt.
Right.
Right. That one's been totally debunked. And as a matter of fact,
Is that fake?
Yeah, it was Photoshop. No, they not only did they debunk it, they showed the original picture, which showed him just with a plain shirt.
Right,
on.
right.
And then somebody kind of put the MAGA thing on the shirt.
There wasn't really. It didn't seem like there was really much evidence to begin with that he was
Right.
MAGA, and I watched a video today. She kind of called it a stupid conspiracy, but some theories kind of suggesting that he was further right than Charlie, and that he shot Charlie for not being right enough. And are you familiar with Nick Fuentes? Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
So some of his his fans called Groypers are kind of in their little clique on the internet, making their own conspiracy theories about the Kirk killing and how it ties back to Israel. And if Nick Fuentes brought this up on his show, and if you go on Google and just look up Charlie Kirk, $150 million bribe, Netanyahu, the only thing that comes up is a few, like 2 or 3 articles from some just obscure crap news websites
Right.
that say per multiple sources.
Yeah.
What are the sources?
Well, that's what happens a lot of times. they don't name sources. So per these sources that are never named. The other thing I was going to say, what was it? You said something about Nick Fuentes.
Nick Fuentes, yeah.
What was they saying? Oh, I know. I lost my train of thought. But here, there was a certain narrative that was trying to be put out by MSNBC that he was kind of leaning toward this MAGA thing, but then his family come out, specifically his mother, come out and said, yeah, but in the past couple of years he's been leaning more left on things, like you said, more and more pro-trans, pro.
But one of the points was that no Nick Fuentes fan would live with a transgender roommate at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm not that familiar with the basis of his.
He's a kind of this fringe, just neo-Nazi YouTuber, and he's just that's all he is a neo-Nazi, and there's kind of this, and it includes Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, but there's kind of this rift that's started among the right-wing YouTube bros, and kind of this niche little culture where we're Republicans, we're MAGA, we support Trump, but we're big critics of Israel. And that's like a big pill to swallow, I think, in the Republican Party. And that's something that's kind of being pushed by Tucker Carlson since his departure from Fox News. And he's kind of been at the focal point of that, of the anti-Israel Republicans. And Nick Fuentes ties in with that too.
Okay. Well, see, I'm a fan of Tucker Carlson. I don't agree with everything he says, especially when it comes to Israel. I am a fan of Tucker Carlson. I can be a fan of somebody and say, you're wrong on this.
Right.
And I think Tucker Carlson otherwise is a pretty intelligent guy. Nick Fuentes, I've heard his name and stuff. I haven't really paid attention to a lot of it.
You shouldn't. You shouldn't.
And now I've got to go check him out.
Right.
Now I've got to go check him out and see, and that's what I encourage everybody to do, is when it comes to these influencers, these news people and stuff like that, don't take my word for somebody.
Well, it's not like calling somebody who's a Republican a white supremacist. Like he's legit a white supremacist.
Okay. See, now I have to go and see.
Yeah.
And and if he is, if I think he is, I don't want nothing to do with it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that, unfortunately, I wish everybody would kind of be along that lines and go find out things for yourself. Okay. Speaking out against Charlie Kirk, it's not that people are speaking out against Charlie Kirk.
Right.
That's not. You have every right. If you want to sit here in the privacy of our house and say, I hate Charlie Kirk, I'm glad he's dead, you have the right to do that.
Right.
Okay. And which, by the way, YouTube, I'm not glad he's dead. But anyway, you have every right to do that. So when you come onto a platform like this, or you work for a company, and that I think that was the big thing, where you work for a company and you say something as vile as a lot of these people are saying, and the company's looking at it saying, we don't want to be affiliated with what this employee's saying. And so they let them go. It's a good example. This is not something that's new. It happened with Colin Kaepernick with the 49ers. When Kaepernick went off on his thing of kneeling during the national anthem and some of the things he was saying in interviews and stuff. And the 49ers wanted to separate themselves from it because there were fans saying, look, we're not coming to the games. Therefore, we're not paying for the tickets. Therefore, you're not getting the money. And so the First Amendment, I wish everybody would understand this. If you actually look at the text of the First Amendment, it's guaranteeing that Congress will not bring up any laws that would hinder your speech, whatever, say whatever you want to say. That does not cover private companies. It does not cover employers. So that means that whoever you work for, and as a matter of fact, there was channel, I'm not going to say, yeah, it was Channel 12 News here, had a producer that went on the internet, said a bunch of stuff, and they let him go. As soon as people complained about it, they let him go. So they have the right to do that. I mean, I think that should be on a case by case basis. I think somebody that does that, especially over this.
Do you think a couple years ago when he was alive, do you think that if you were working in a corporate office, you would have gotten in trouble for playing one of his videos out loud?
Who's that?
Playing one of Charlie Kirk's videos out loud.
Why would no? Because what Charlie Kirk did, Charlie Kirk invited conversation. And that's one of the things I so admired about him. He sat 10 feet from a crowd that did not agree with him.
Right.
And they said, Charlie Kirk was like, let's have a conversation. And I understand that there's a lot of things that he says during these conversations that are taken out of context.
Right.
And they don't let you hear everything he said. But does that mean that I agree with everything that Charlie Kirk says? No.
What do you not agree with what Charlie Kirk says?
I don't agree with his. I think that abortion is bad. I think it should be against the law. I think it's horrendous. I think it is the murder of a human being. But we should take some things into consideration, okay? With Charlie Kirk, there was nothing taken into consideration. If your 10-year-old girl was kidnapped and raped and she was pregnant, he believed that she should have the baby.
He did believe that.
Yeah. I don't agree with that, okay? So I think that there should be some exceptions for abortion, the health of the mother, the well-being of the mother, which most of the mothers I know would say, I don't care if I die, this baby's going to be born.
Wow.
But they have the right to decide whatever, in my opinion. But like a 10-year-old girl, and I'm going to tell you this, when we're talking about these ages like this is less than 1/10%.
Right.
Okay, of cases that happen. If a 10-year-old girl is raped or molested by somebody in her family, whatever the case is, no, I don't think that 10-year-old girl should have to go through giving birth. And people are going to say 2 wrongs don't make a right. Well, this is not that cut. This is not that clear here, because you do have to worry about the emotional well-being of a 10-year-old child.
It would have been easy for Charlie Kirk to say that until it was one of his little girls.
Yeah, that would make it extremely hard.
Yeah.
And I love Charlie Kirk. I think what happened to him was horrendous. I listened to him all the time.
Right.
And I agree with him on just about everything. But on that one, I would have to say,
when I had first heard about it, I walked out of the movie theaters and I hadn't read a single headline, a single news article. I get out of the movie, we go see the new Conjuring. I go to the bathroom, I open my phone, I get a text from my buddy. I've known this guy for years, I love him to death. But he's a little bit of an unhinged guy, and he just texts me. He texts me this video, and he says, "Hey man, have you seen this?" I click on it. It's Charlie Kirk at a video, or it's a video of Charlie Kirk at one of his things answering a question. It appears that it's like from one of the adjacent like rooftops. Like it appears that the video's elevated or being recorded from an elevated position. Gunshot goes off. Charlie Kirk leans over. Crowd scatters, freaks out.
Right.
That's the only bit of context I had. My first viewing of it was.
Right.
So I go straight to Google Charlie Kirk shot, and by that point, I believed he was already pronounced dead. I guess that he was shot at like 12:30. This was about 4 when I found out, and my first thought was with Charlie Kirk and Charlie Kirk's family being so close to Trump and Trump's family, at some point they would have had to have done a threat assessment on Kirk and how this venue was as unsecured as it appeared to be is just beyond me. And the role he was in was dang near an advisory capacity to the president.
Right.
And yeah, I just thought that was nuts. And the video's awful. The video's absolutely
Well,
vile.
if you watch Charlie Kirk from when he first started these college tours, for lack of a better term, tours,
Yeah.
you'll see it's kind of an amazing turn of events when, if you look at some of his early college visits compared to his last few, okay? Because his early college visits, most of the students there did not agree with him at all. They was downright ruthless. But Charlie Kirk kept his composure. He didn't get mad and just start slinging out insults. The thing I liked about Charlie Kirk is that his politics were deeply based on his religious convictions.
And I want to get into that because that's one of my biggest problems with Kirk.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I wanted to tell you about that. So one of my biggest problems with Charlie Kirk is that he had absolutely no regard for the separation of church and state. He called it a myth. He called it several times that the separation of church and state is a myth. And those 5 words are not in the Constitution. They're not. But it was something that the founding fathers, the Christian men that they were, so strongly believed in. And Kirk thought that religion should dictate government, and it shouldn't. He did not believe in separation of church and state, hardly freedom of religion. He did think that there needed to be, these are his words, that there needed to be more Christian influence in government. And that gets to his issues with, I think, gay marriage and all that stuff. But I don't think that religion should dictate government, and he seemed to think. And he completely refused to condemn the genocide in Gaza. And I don't think it's unfair to call it a genocide. I think it is a genocide when an overwhelming majority of the casualties are non-combatants. I think it's fair to call it a genocide. And George Floyd too. And we're kind of supposed to sympathize with Charlie Kirk's death and say that he never preached violence. And I think the reality is that don't let anybody tell you that Charlie Kirk never preached violence, because he did. When Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, greatest inside trader in history, complete ripoff of the American people, screws everybody over. Speaker of the House, right? Enemy of the people, so to speak. When somebody breaks into her house and attacks her husband with a hammer, Charlie Kirk goes on his show and say, "Hey man, this guy's a freaking hero. We need to bail him out." And the George Floyd thing. George Floyd was a fentanyl user, career criminal. Was certainly to a degree resisting arrest. Beat up pregnant women, bad dude. None of those facts will justify a Minneapolis police officer kneeling on his neck for 9.5 minutes. And Trump went on TV, Kirk went on TV, all the other right-wing YouTube bros went on TV and said he had it coming, he deserved it. And, people in Minneapolis burnt the city half to the ground, to get the DA to press charges. And I don't think it's fair for Kirk to refuse to condemn violence politically in so many different ways, and then his apparatus around him demand that the entire world cry at their feet over his death. I don't think that's fair at all. I don't.
Well, let's go back. There's a lot to unwrap right there.
Yeah.
And let's go back to Gaza. Okay. People are forgetting who started this war.
Hamas started this war.
Hamas.
Yeah.
Okay. People don't realize that in Gaza, Israel had pulled completely out of Gaza. And said, "Here, you can have it." Okay?
Yeah.
So Hamas embeds themselves, and let me tell you this. Also, the general person in Gaza elected Hamas to their leadership. Hamas was entrenched in the government in Gaza.
It's a political party.
It's a political. Well, it became a political party because the people of Gaza allowed that. When you look at when they were setting up these missile launchers and stuff in hospitals, children's daycare, they were setting it up in schools, everything. So, as careful as Israel has very plainly shown the world that they're trying to be, it's totally impossible in those circumstances to be at war. And although you can try as hard as you can not to kill innocent civilians, it's going to happen. And because these people were using the Palestinians or the people in the Gaza Strip as human shields.
Right. So if the terrorists are using the hospitals and the daycares, it's kind of hard not to bomb the hospitals and the daycares.
They actually was going door to door, which put their own soldiers in jeopardy themselves by doing that. They could have went in and just cleared out a hospital with one bomb, but they didn't. And they were hitting offshoots of these known terrorist establishments. And there's always going to be an accident that happens. Even with us, the United States is highly technical as what our military is and our bomb capabilities are. There are accidents that happen, and they happened in Desert Storm. They happened in Afghanistan. That's not an excuse. That's just a fact. Okay. But when we look at when Hamas, and it wasn't just Hamas, it was Palestinian people also. I'm not trying to blame the whole population. Don't get me on that. But when they attacked the people of Israel coming through they actually come in the air with gliders. Did you know that? They come in the air also with gliders and drop bombs and stuff, hand bombs on the crowds and in the concerts and stuff. When I watched the videos, there was people running, shouting, going into Israel on motorcycles, cars, on foot. They broke into people's houses, killed babies in their cribs, slaughtered people that were living there close to the borders of the Gaza Strip. This was a horrific thing. Okay, now Israel has tried, and let me tell you this: Trump hasn't always been in total agreement with what Israel has done. As a matter of fact, as recently as this past week. But Israel has tried to root out the Hamas individuals in almost impossible thing. I mean, it's almost impossible to go in and root these people out who have spent years entrenching themselves. And so I think my personal belief is that Israel has done everything possible to minimize the human casualties. But just like if it was the United States in there and we were doing the same thing, we would not be able to execute what we need to do as far as getting rid of Hamas without human casualty or regular population being involved.
Right.
And it's a sad thing, but it's a sad truth of war.
Even when the deaths of non-combatants and children outnumber the deaths of actual combatants.
That's not true. That's simply...
Is it not?
No, that is not true.
That's numbers from the UN.
No.
There's more dead women and children than there are actual terrorist soldiers.
No. That come as a report, and everybody has run with that and taken off with it. But let's be realistic. Okay? If that really was happening, you wouldn't have there would be so many countries that would so turn, and I'm talking about major Western countries that would so turn against Israel.
They have all.
No. Now, even Trump, there has been some aggressions that Israel has done that Trump even, criticized.
And I think that goes back to the Nick Fuentes thing, because even in recent weeks, Charlie Kirk was kind of starting to turn the heel on Israel, and he went to Gaza and was horrified by what he saw. And that's where the $150 million in Israel money from Netanyahu comes from. And if Kirk really turned that down and they killed him for it, I don't know. And I think you're getting into the slippery slope with accusing the Jews of killing Kirk, because if you accuse, and this is where I think where I just shake my head. If you question Israel, then you're questioning the Jews, and then you're anti-Semitic. So anything remotely critical of Israel seems to be anti-Semitic, and I just don't stand for it.
Well, but let's get back to because you mentioned the Charlie Kirk shooter. Okay, was you aware that the district attorney in Utah come out and disclosed all the text messages between him?
Yes, I read some of those, and I don't think that's not how young people text. I think that I think it's credible to say that the texts are absolutely phony. No 20-year-old.
Are you kidding?
No 20-year-old. Listen,
kidding?
No 20-year-old with a transgender boyfriend is typing out these sentences and using correct punctuation and correct grammar and periods and question marks. And
oh man. My phone, I have mine set to do exactly that. It will do correct punctuation, commas, periods, without me doing anything. Without me just typing
the text. I read through some of the text and about how he was planning on getting rid of the gun and all that stuff. It doesn't seem. It doesn't have the cadence of a young man. I don't think it just did it, and it. Could they have
come
been
on,
written?
You're not one of these conspiracy. Oh, come on.
It's tough to say. Really, it is. I mean, you can look at an exchange of texts and be like, "This is baloney." Come on, come on.
Oh man. Well, not only that, but his transgender, and let's say that they called him roommate because they weren't very sure of the relationship.
Right.
Okay? So, for the purpose, my personal belief, that was his boyfriend or girlfriend, however you want to see it. That was his lover.
Right.
Okay. But for the purposes of talking on the channel, we'll call him the roommate.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fine.
And but the transgender roommate is cooperating with the police. Not only do they have those texts, but they have the words and the testimony of the. I shouldn't say.
Well, of course, they're going to cooperate with police. They're going to sit there and torture him in an FBI FBI black room if he doesn't.
Do you know every interview that's done by the police is filmed and it is automated, and there are certain techniques that the detectives have to do to keep from violating this person's civil rights.
And I'm supposed to believe that this guy smuggled in the gun, disassembled, put it together, and then
no, that was a incorrect speculation on the part of the news media. Okay, this is why news media should stick to news and stop speculating, because that speculation that he had the gun taken apart is totally false, and it's proven by the video of him walking through the subdivision with what's presumably the gun stuck down the leg of his pants. So, and he can't bend. It was his right leg. He can't bend his right leg because the gun is stuck down the side of his pants, and you could see the bulge in the video. So the idea that was a speculative, and it was done on Fox News, as well as CNN, because I saw the report.
Right.
And they were trying to figure out, well, why did he have a screwdriver? Was it to put the gun together or what have you? Well,
Which would totally throw off the zero of the scope.
it was the thing is the type rifle that they're talking about, which was bolt action 30-06, which is a hunting rifle. By the way, it's not an assault weapon.
Right.
And that type of gun, you're not going to take a regular flathead screwdriver or Phillips head screwdriver and take it apart enough to make any difference, because of the way the fasteners and stuff are made on the weapon, right? So, but he had this screwdriver that I presume, and it's pure speculation on my part, was a flathead screwdriver. And so after this video comes out, which is pretty obvious that he has the gun stuck down his right pant leg, and he's limping very, very badly.
Nobody in the event sees this.
No, he's in the subdivision outside of where the campus is, and he's going through the subdivision en route to the building that initially they were saying it was around 200 yards away from where Charlie Kirk was. The district attorney says it's more like 160 yards. Okay, so which is on the outer rim of the area where Charlie Kirk had the crowd. So they showed the video of him going up the stairways inside the building and everything, and which wouldn't be an uncommon occurrence, because if people are going along and they're going along about their daily business, they see a guy limping, nobody stops and checks him and looks to see if he's got a 30-06.
But if it's at a college campus event with the biggest conservative speaker in the country, I think, hey, why is that guy limping?
But he's on the outside of that crowded area.
Right.
He's not in amongst the crowd. He's on the outside of that crowded area on the other side of this building as he comes in, right?
Right.
So now the speculation about the screwdriver is that he had the screwdriver there to jimmy the door that gave him access to the roof. So again, it's speculation, and nobody's going to really know anything, truly know everything 100% until after the investigation. This investigation just is getting started good. But it's very apparent that it was not to put the gun together. Now, I haven't seen that gun. It's quite possible that he might have used it to take the stock off the weapon, and maybe he had the stock somewhere else on him. It could be. I'm just speculating.
Right.
But it was not to take that barrel assembly and stuff apart. You can't. I mean, you can take some things off the weapon, but you can't take it apart enough to make any difference. And it's very apparent that when he's in that video walking, that gun is all the way down, probably close to his ankle, from his waist to almost his ankle.
So I wanted to bring up, one of Charlie Kirk's big talking points was about indoctrination in education, and the college, what they were teaching in the colleges, what they were teaching in university, and he went to all these college students and said, you're being indoctrinated. College is not a place, to push left-leaning rhetoric, and I guess they were to a degree. But the irony in that is that you're having these Turning Point USA chapters being set up in public schools to teach and push conservative values in public education. I was absolutely disgusted to walk into Lafayette High School and see a Turning Point USA chapter sat up in the lunchroom. And
did you know this? That since his death, 34,000 applications.
Yes, I did know that. Yes.
Okay. But are you equally as disgusted that since the 1960s, liberals have been inundating our campuses every year, every day? Are you equally disgusted?
I would say that I'm equally disgusted, but liberals is not a specific organization with a specific set of values.
Well, I understand that, but there's far more liberal organizations than there is any major conservative organizations.
Like what? I mean, you got Antifa, but Antifa don't get chapters in schools.
BLM,
Antifa.
the Southern Poverty Law Center. All of these, there's more. These are the ones that I can name off.
Right.
These are major liberal organizations. The George Soros Foundation. All of these are major organizations. There are many more that has more chapters than I can name. So if there's going to be a liberal teachings within a upper education, there should also be conservative. But in a perfect world, let's see, we wouldn't have any of those, and we would just have free thought on campuses. But until we get rid of tenure, you know what tenure is?
Yeah,
right?
where you basically just don't get fired or you don't
Right.
quit, yeah.
I mean, professors that enjoy tenure, it's almost impossible to get rid of them. That is the worst system, and I understand why the colleges, the major colleges, started that system many years ago because they wanted to retain the top professors. Blah blah blah. That needs to go, and this old way of thinking when it comes to our education needs to be thrown out. And
what in the curriculum do you have a problem with in the university?
I have a problem with not really with curriculum, but with tenure. I also have a problem with these big schools, multi-billion-dollar schools that is getting government funding from foreign governments to allow foreign students to attend that school. I got a big problem with that. They charge such a huge amount of money. Harvard and colleges of that nature, they charge such a huge amount of money for a student to go there. Why are they receiving funds from China? Why? These things should be they should be done away with. At least Congress should be looking into them. You see what I mean?
Would you be saying that if the colleges were teaching more of what you agreed with?
No. I mean, I would, yes. Because colleges should be a place of free thinking. If you come in and you're extremely left, other than being someone who is a violent leftist or violent right-wing extremist, those views should not be taught anywhere. But you should be able to freely go onto a college campus and say what you want to say, be taught correctly. Let me give the example of what I'm trying to say. A local college right up here, UTC. There was an area a few years ago. There was an area of that college that was actually circled off. That was the free speech part. You could go in there, stand in that area, say whatever you want to say. And I was totally against that. Why? Because you know what? The whole college should be that way, not just one little area. So free thinking is every inch of America. That's what
so free thinking and freedom of speech that doesn't include violent speech.
No.
So how can people in a country, people enjoy the freedoms of a country born about rebellion, be so soft about political violence? We're a country born of rebellion, born out of war and violence, and fighting against a greater tyranny. But 200 years later, now we can't suggest that the people rise up against tyranny, because then you're a violent extremist. Then you're calling for political violence.
Because if we had a tyrannical government,
I think we do have a tyrannical government. I mean,
Really?
that's just me saying that, but
Really?
sure.
Really, give me an example
Of
something our government has done is being tyrannical.
something our Waco, Ruby Ridge. If you're thinking just specifically the Trump administration, then I could go back and go into the tobacco ban, the bump stock ban, and the Republican Party calls itself the party of small government, and agree, disagree, like or dislike mass deportation. Picking people up off the street in masks and throwing them in unmarked vans without any trial, love it or hate it, it's not something a small government does. It's not a small government policy.
Okay.
I don't think I would start to call that very tyrannical. I would say that Donald Trump refusing to admit his defeat in the 2020 election is tyrannical, trying to overturn an election. And they just sentenced the president of the ex-president of freaking Brazil to 20 years in prison for doing the same thing down there. And
Okay, hang on. There's a lot to unravel right
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Okay, so
I mean, you can go on down the list in terms of what I mean, and you can. That's where the debate is what's tyrannical, what's okay, what should we do. I think you can go on down the list of tyrannical things the Trump
we
government's
could go
done.
to the 2016 election where Hillary Clinton herself called Donald Trump an unjust president. She denied the 2016 election for many years. Stacey Abrams here in Georgia, on her first election loss to Brian Kemp, she still to this day has not admitted defeat, even though she run in an election, a second election against Kemp, and he clearly beat her. It wasn't even close. And on that election, she gave up all kind of excuses or whatever, but she never admitted or never conceded, I should say, the first election against Brian Kemp. Never.
Did she legally challenge the results?
Yes.
She did?
Yes.
Was she in a position of office to where she could legitimately do something about it?
She was trying to be, but when she is.
I mean, it's wrong when they.
She's
it's wrong
kind of
when,
one of the rock stars of the Democratic Party.
Sure.
And her influence, this microphone, for many people is a huge influence, more than any political office.
Right.
If you take, for example, Joe Rogan, who's the biggest podcast in the world, and I love to watch Joe Rogan. It's nothing against him, but his microphone is very powerful and rivals the power of many elected officials in the world.
Well, yeah, it's certainly wrong when Republicans do it, and it's wrong when Democrats do it, to whine and throw a fit about your electoral results. But when you're going to, he told here in Georgia, the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, there's the phone call. He said, find me 7,000 votes. Your president on the air, on a telephone, telling the Secretary of your state, who's in charge of your elections, who's now, Brad Raffensperger's now running for governor of Georgia, telling him to find 7,300 votes. I think that just speaks for itself.
That come about because if you don't remember, in Fulton County, they evacuated the polls. In Fulton County, the counting polls are the counting areas because of a toilet overflowed. And when they shut down counting in Fulton County because what they were saying was a massive pipe burst and water's everywhere, turned out to be a toilet overflowing. And they shut down the counting on a election that was extremely close. If you want to, they have to look at even the appearance of improprieties. Okay, when they looked at the videos of these accounting officials, and after they shut down the counting and they're pulling out these big bins out from under a table and pulling out ballots out of those bins. So even the appearance of improprieties is horrible. I am totally in agreement with getting away from these voting machines. And have you voted?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so you used the voting machines before.
Yes, I have.
Do you know where that voting machine? What countries?
China.
No. Actually, in South America, it may be something in China, but actually, that information from those machines go into cloud space in South America and everything. The security of these things, and I'm not knocking. I'm telling you, I'm not knocking. I don't know, but anything that's on the internet, such as those machines, have the probability of being tampered with.
But there's paper ballots that go along with the electrical ballots.
Yeah,
too.
there are, but those paper ballots are also fed into a machine.
Yes.
So I'm totally in total agreement of going to a fully paper ballot system, fully. And it's, you know what? Everybody says paper ballots are slow, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? When we done
Yeah,
paper
I
ballots,
agree.
we knew the president in one night when we done paper ballots. Suddenly everything becomes convoluted and becomes problematic and we can't get all these votes in, or we can't do all the, and we're supposed to be with machines that's supposed to make it faster. So there becomes kind of a problem. But I wanted to get back to Charlie Kirk. We kind of got off the message on that, and I wanted to get back to Charlie Kirk. I wanted to get back to the shooter,
Yeah.
if we could, and what motivated the shooter. Well, right now he's not talking too much, and but we can make a kind of a guess, an educated guess, I might say, by looking at the text, in which you said
That's
text,
not how young people talk. It's not
okay.
how you, yeah.
Right. But he's not exactly as young as you.
No.
He was 21. Am I
21, I'm 18.
21, 22 years old.
Yeah.
And but you're also, I want to throw in some of this to see what your thoughts are.
Sure.
Okay. He's also from the Midwest.
Yeah.
Okay. He's involved in a different relationship. Let's put it that
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
And he's gone to college. He has all this influence from college. That a lot of that influence wasn't necessarily bad, but a lot of that influence is proper English, proper writing skills, and things of that nature. So do you think that those things could have influenced how he texts?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. In terms of grammar, I mean, yeah, simply. I just didn't find that the texts were natural and that they were written. And again, this is assuming the conspiracy that maybe they were fake and already written. But going along with that conspiracy, it seems that the texts in question are meant to push a certain idea one way. Like, I mean, you can pull them up, but one of the questions is like, you didn't do it, did you? And he's like, yes, I did. I didn't want to involve you, my love. And it's, I just find it to be just very weird and it just completely off-putting. I mean, I think we should go through some of the actual text and talk about it, but
I took that part of it as being the roommate being shocked. He's like, he's not asking, you didn't do it.
yeah, and he asked why. The
But
roommate
he's
asked
going,
why.
he's shocked. You didn't do it, did you? I mean, he's shocked at what he's becoming to realize, and so I think the roommate had no idea it was going to happen.
Right.
But I do believe that there was a message that he tells his roommate that's under his keyboard, and I believe he told the roommate to get rid of it, and the roommate did. That makes him an accessory, and he did. He attempted to. They were still able to recover it in the fireplace, or whatever it was, and so that makes him an accessory. So the roommate has involved himself after the fact. You see what I mean? But during the texting, I think a lot of what the roommate is saying is just he's shocked. He's shocked at what this guy is telling him.
Yeah, I just find that I think that they were meant to give answers. Is what I think. Meant to.
Really?
Yes, I do.
Really?
And I could be totally wrong. I probably am totally wrong. Just I read a little bit of them today, and I do not think that they were written by two 20-year-old transgenders. I don't.
Really?
I don't think
Really?
they were. And that's a far fetch, but I don't think that.
Let me see if I can convince you.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you have this case where you have so much video evidence, it's so much, not only of the surveillance cameras, but of the individual phone, cell phone videos. The guy with the cell phone video that's actually that's on the ground that's looking up at the shooter as the shooter's in his prone position. You can't really tell out, make out any identifying things like his face or anything.
Do you think he would have gotten away with it if he kept his mouth shut?
No,
No. How do you think they would have gotten him?
because they found the gun.
Yeah.
Because they found the gun, and actually, when it was actually a pretty good piece of policing, because they started pulling the surveillance camera footage from all the cameras around in the vicinity where they thought the weapon or the firing came from.
And if that's one of the things that brings me to the text messages. It was Grandpa's rifle. I think if you shot Charlie Kirk, you're not worried about going back and recovering that gun because it was your pawpaw's.
Well, here's the reason why he was worried about it, because when they pulled that surveillance footage and they got that part where he is climbing down off the
She's
building,
jumping down. Yeah.
they went to that immediate spot and pulled DNA off that building. They had a palm print, pulled DNA off that immediate spot. Okay, so now because anything you touch, if somebody comes out and shoots me, they're probably not going to go to that level of DNA research to find my killer.
But if it's Charlie Kirk.
But it's
yeah.
This was, I would be a murder. This was an assassination.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring this up too. One thing that's very interesting, if you look this up on Wikipedia, Wikipedia refuses to call it an assassination.
That's wow.
In the entire article, I looked through this before we went and did this today. Wikipedia will not call it a political assassination.
Wow.
Just the killing of Charlie Kirk.
Wow.
So you'll see. Yeah.
The reason why he wanted to go back and get the gun is because anything you touch has your DNA on it, and even more so with a rifle.
And he wouldn't have been able to get out with the gun.
Let me explain about the rifle. What I'm saying about the rifle. He obviously 160-yard shot with any rifle is not. It's not that
And
bad.
it's not a shot, a target that big. It's a target about that big.
Right, and it's anybody that has shot rifles in their life had a moderate level of understanding could have made that shot.
Yeah.
But what happens with a rifle is that when you're aiming a rifle, and obviously he has shot this rifle before, he has to a zeroed scope to his shooting capabilities. Okay, and I want to explain this for everybody. If I take my rifle out, which I've taken mine out in the past couple of weeks, I actually zeroed it myself. That means I'm going to set the scope on that rifle at, I might do it at a 50-yard zero. He may have done that one at a 100-yard zero.
Do you think he was aiming for the head?
I cannot tell. But if, I've heard a lot of people talk about aiming for the head and aiming for, the way I was always taught, you aimed at the biggest part of your body, which is what's called center of mass. And the biggest part of your body is the upper part of your torso, which happens to be the center right here, which happens to be right over your heart.
Right.
That is the center of mass, okay? So if he's aiming at the center of mass, he missed high and to the right, okay, because it was Charlie Kirk's left.
Right.
So if he was aiming center of mass, he missed high and to the right. If he was aiming at the head, he missed low and to the right. So it's hard to know if he was trying to take a headshot or trying to take a torso shot. But when I saw that and I saw the uncensored video, the second I saw it, I said, he's gone.
Right.
Because he probably bled out within less than a minute. And
I don't think that people should lose their jobs for being insensitive about the Kirk killing. I don't. And this is just me saying this, but I think a lot of the stuff that Kirk did advocate for pushes America into a much darker place. And when this guy dies and people come out and say, hey, I didn't like some of the crap he said, we can come together and we can condemn his death and we can condemn political violence, but we don't really have to sympathize with it. People don't have to sympathize with it. And that seems that's what the memo seems to be, is that if you don't, cry and sympathize and kneel, then we're going to fire you. You're going to lose your job. We're going to harass you. You're a bad person. You're a political extremist. You're crap. You're scum. And I just don't buy. I don't.
But it's not that people are getting fired because they have they have something against Charlie Kirk and said something bad about Charlie Kirk. Right. That's not why they're getting fired. Why they're getting fired because they're coming out with some disgusting, vile things that they're saying and doing on videos, and these companies don't want to be affiliated
right.
with an employee that's doing that. So the companies have the right to tell somebody to get to kicking rocks. That's just like in your home. If you're in your home and somebody comes in and says something you don't like, right, and you tell them kick rocks, you have not trampled on their First Amendment right.
That doesn't make you correct, though.
It makes you totally correct because it's kind of when I give you the example I just gave you, a man's home is his castle,
right?
Is so to speak. That means that what, if you don't agree. If you don't agree with what somebody who is representing you, if you don't agree with what they're saying, then you don't have to allow that person to continue to represent you.
Well, employees shouldn't have to be politically aligned with their company just to work there.
Well, they don't. And that's just like with plenty of the. Let's take Fox News, any news station, not just Fox News, but any news station. You'll see that they have, let's say CNN. CNN has one guy that's on there that's totally conservative, and he might be sitting there with 4 or 5 people that are liberal and what have you. Okay, guess what? That guy's going to say things that those other hosts are not going to like. And actually, Fox News has it the other way around, where they've got 4 or 5 people that are conservative, and then they always have a Democratic or liberal person. So they always, and they're going to say things that the other hosts and stuff don't agree with. But there's a line when you cross that line where you go, hey, well, let's think about it like this. If Martin Luther King had just got shot yesterday and some white supremacist was out there making fun of it, how would people view it then?
Not good. At the time they were, but not good.
At the time, they burnt cities down. That's what happened at the time. They burnt cities down. Jesse Jackson stood over Martin Luther King's body, pointing at where the shooter was. Cities burnt, people rioted. Do you see a city burning, people rioting right now?
No.
That's because we're not the same. We're not the same as and I shouldn't say, I just use Martin Luther King as an example. I'm not saying we're not the same as black people. We're not the same as the liberal agenda. Okay, and that's
is the right completely or the right and Republicans and conservatives completely incapable of political violence?
No, but it takes a lot more. It takes a.
They killed the Minnesota Speaker of the House. They were
no, they didn't. An individual did. An individual that was dressing up like a police officer, knocking on doors, is what done that. Okay. We have a one-off situation right there.
Right. Well, but you could still say that it's hateful right-wing rhetoric in the same way that they're saying that the church.
It's an individual's hateful right-wing rhetoric. Yes.
Yeah, but you could also say that it's an individual's hateful left-wing rhetoric instead of blaming the whole side like they're doing.
Not
with the
when
Kirk
there has
killing.
been a total track record of it. Look at the past 5 shootings, school shootings, major shootings that has happened. Where had they been? They have been white liberals, and from the Nashville shooter, the shooter of Charlie Kirk. When you get into some of the school shootings, that I don't want to get into the argument of the transgender. There's a transgender problem that so many of them are transgender.
Right, I think that's ridiculous. Yeah.
I think there happens to be. It's not just transgenderism. It's any of these people that have that do these shootings have a mental issue. Okay, and at the bottom of the barrel, or not the bottom of the barrel, the bottom line is, we have a mental health issue problem in the United States.
Yeah.
That's what we have. You can take the guns away. You can take all kind of guns away. People will find another way to kill another person if they have a mental issue. Case in point was the young lady immigrant that was on the
Ukrainian
train,
lady, yeah.
the Ukrainian lady, and the guy that stood up behind her with a pocket knife this big and killed her
Yeah.
for no reason. And that's a shocking video. But
I would certainly agree to that point.
yeah, well, we have a mental health problem here that nobody wants to address.
Why does nobody want to address it?
I don't know. I wish I knew.
Let me ask you this question: Is being transgender do you think it's a mental illness?
Yes.
Is it a mental illness that constitutes cognitive impairment? If you're a transgender, should you be able to own a gun?
No.
Wow. Why?
Well, let me back up.
If you just wake up one day and you decide you're transgender,
I'm not going to wake up one day.
I'm not saying you would, but if somebody did, should that mean that their gun should be confiscated?
No,
that's a very alarming trend that I am seeing.
Let me back up because I misunderstood what your question was. Let me back up. I'm going to backstroke on this. You're going to see me backstroke on this.
That's okay.
Okay. I don't think. Let me ask you this: there's a thing called red flag laws when it comes to guns, right?
Should that be a red flag? Should being transgender be a red flag?
I don't believe that we should have any red flag laws.
I agree.
Not because I don't believe. As I just clearly explained just a few minutes ago, we have a mental health problem in the United States, okay? But when it comes to these red flag laws, who says, yeah, you have mental health, you're bad enough, we got to take your guns?
Exactly.
Who makes that judgment?
Who makes that judgment?
Who's going to make that judgment?
As in, I'm assuming the government or the gun store employee, I guess. Who makes that judgment?
Who qualifies? Okay.
If you allow red flag laws, then you are entrusting in the government the ability to make the decision of who can and can't have guns.
Who in the government has the medical expertise to make that judgment?
Nobody, I don't think.
Who in a gun store has the medical
None.
expertise?
None.
No. And then we get onto a slippery slope there where these things could be, these judgments could be made for political reasons or what have you. I want to tell you something. That's probably going to blow people's mind. On a personal level, Trump sending the Coast Guard to blow up these these drug boats, I think it's good. I think it's great. I think it's saving lives. That's why. On a legal level, I think it's totally wrong. So, but they said these are combatants. The reason why I brought that up, these are combatants, okay? These are not people that deserve to have a trial by a jury of their peers or what have you. These are combatants.
By what standard are we defining combatants?
Okay.
Because the Trump administration's kind of redefining that to kind of point the scope at whoever they want.
Exactly. And the same thing could happen with red flag law.
Yes.
So that's why
They will just point the scope at whoever, and that's why I have such.
We're going to move the goalposts from here to here.
Yes.
To get you in here.
And since transgender people are our political enemy, we can say that they're a mental illness. And if you have a mental illness, then you can't have a gun, and then transgender people can't have guns.
Right. It's not just transgender. It's any mental illness. There are plenty of people that I know that take medication for depression, or take medication for other mental things that are as sane as we are, as me and you.
Yeah.
And people that take medication for anxiety, people that take medication for high blood pressure. Anxiety contributes to high blood pressure. High blood pressure contributes to anxiety. Thyroid disease can contribute to anxiety. So there's people that's on anxiety medication that would never ever kill themselves or kill anybody. So to say that you're on anxiety medication is a pretty broad net. If you said you're on anxiety medication, we can no longer let you have guns. No,
Right.
It shouldn't be that. It should be on a case-by-case basis.
And I'm of the belief simply that we cannot trust the government with that authority over us.
No, and that's why I don't believe in the government unilaterally being able to do anything like that, and much less take away a God-given right. And the Second Amendment is a God-given right. Okay, I don't care what anybody says.
It is.
And,
it absolutely is. Yeah.
So I don't believe for a second that the government should be able to make any type of judgment call on your mental status as to whether or not you can have a gun. Look at what our government was doing to Trump. I'll use that for an example. Right now, there's people in Congress saying that Trump needs to be looked at mentally because he's mentally incapable of being president.
Felons can't have guns, but a felon is also in charge of the largest military in the world. So, I think that's a paradox in of itself.
But that felon was voted in by the people. Okay.
Sure.
But the reality of it is, even though he is president of the United States, in certain states, I'm not sure about Florida. I know for Georgia, I'm not sure about Florida. But since he is a felon, I don't believe, even though he's president of the United States, that he could carry a gun.
No.
And but it's different if I have a security person and that person's in control of the gun.
Do you think his conviction should have barred him from running for president?
No.
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 Should anyone's felony conviction bar them from running for office?
No. Why? Because I have that much confidence in the American voter. Okay, and I'll tell you why. I think the American voter saw right through those convictions. Did you know that what happened in New York with Trump, that was actually a misdemeanor? When you're talking about, I know you're probably referring to the sexual assault or the SA case.
Those are civil suits. Those aren't legal suits.
Okay, that's why I was going to point out that's a civil suit. When they're talking about the real estate,
and you can get into the dozens of credible sexual assault allegations that Trump has, and Joe Biden too. He has dozens of credible sexual
He has
assault
one
allegations.
that's extremely serious. And on that case, I'm trying to think of the young lady's name. People, please put it down in the comment section. That case and the paperwork and the investigation in that case was locked up at the University of Maryland, and nobody's letting that investigation out. Tyra Banks, was it not Tyra Banks? What was her name?
Oh, I mean, I'll even say this: I don't think that his hush money case was a big deal. I didn't.
Who, Trump?
Yeah, that was something that I didn't really care about. It's like he banged a porn star. That was about it.
Yeah.
I didn't care about that.
I didn't care about that. I wouldn't have cared if, well,
Does it concern you as a Christian man?
does it concern me?
Do things like that make you question Trump's character as yourself being a Christian man? Do you not want somebody who more accurately represent? Let me back up and ask a broader question. Does Trump accurately represent Christian values?
In a way, yes. In a way, no. And that's not a cop out. I'm not saying that as a cop out, because as a Christian, we believe that we're all sinners.
Right.
Okay. Do we believe that we should be able to carry on sinning? No. But the struggle, the man I was before salvation is totally different from the man you see here.
So you
today.
can't really hold him because he sinned in the 80s.
No. I would be in trouble if somebody did that to me. I would be in trouble.
Sure.
And when you look at characters in the Bible, okay, I shouldn't say characters, people in the Bible. Moses, what's the first thing it says about Moses? One of the first things it says about Moses as an adult.
What do you mean one of the first things that he
What's
said?
What's one of the first things the Bible talks about?
That he got
Moses?
the Ten Commandments. That he
No,
received the Ten Commandments.
Way further earlier than that, Moses killed a man.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Moses, we can say, was a murderer.
Sure.
Right? David, a man that God says that he's a man after my own heart. What did he do? He lusted for a woman, sent her husband out to battle in hopes that he would get killed.
Yeah,
And he did.
I did do that. Yeah.
And he also beheaded people. Okay? So these people were not perfect people.
Right.
And I'm not offering up excuses. What I'm saying is that no matter what you have done in your past, that's key word here, past, there's nothing you've done in your past that grace can't forgive, that the Lord can't forgive you for.
Well, Trump never owned it. He lied about it for 2 decades.
Well,
he lied about everything for 2 decades.
What? On what?
Anything,
the porn star?
anything he's ever been accused of, he's just straight up lied about and never owned.
Okay, but give me the one example. Let's talk about one at a time, not just a blanket
Sure.
statement.
Okay. Of one of the times where he,
Yeah.
the assault case of the woman in the dressing room,
All right.
called her a liar,
all right,
defamed her,
Let's
sought out to destroy her
let's
life.
break up. Let's break that one down. Okay. When did that happen?
Early 90s,
Early 90s.
I believe.
Okay, I'll go there.
Could be wrong.
I'll go there. I'll go there with you. When did she report it?
When he runs for president.
When he ran for president. Okay, now think about it. I want you to think about this, okay? Let's throw the facts to the side for a second, okay? Trump, a very well-known man that everybody in New York pretty much knows at that point in time,
Sure.
is going to take a woman who is not the most attractive woman there is.
Sure.
And let's be factual. I mean, people say that rape or sexual assault is not due to looks, it's for overpowerment.
Right.
But hang on.
We shouldn't assume that famous people who women throw themselves at are incapable of rape and can't. Mike Tyson, you know.
But that's not where I'm going with this. Where I'm going with this, they're in a very public place. with a man that 95% of New Yorkers know on sight,
Right.
right? And he's going to grab some unknown woman who's less than stellar looking and throw her into a changing room in front of everybody and sexually assault her. Now, think about that.
Fair enough. That's a fair statement, right?
I mean, that's what happened. That's what she claimed happened.
Right.
This, and then on top of that, she couldn't name the times. She couldn't name the dates, or she couldn't name any of that. And then she waits for 30 some odd years to make this
Right.
claim. And see, it didn't ride with me. It didn't ride
Right.
with me at all. Not because I'm some kind of crazed out Trump supporter, but because the facts of the case and just the common sense didn't ride with me.
Right.
I mean, that's
What do you make of the birthday letter? The birthday letter to Epstein.
well, I'm sure that I don't know what was in the letter. I haven't looked at it. I haven't seen it, but there was a time before Epstein started stealing, did what they call stealing Trump's employees.
Okay.
Okay, and that was what they were calling it at the time. It's just like you're a good worker at your job, and the young lady that I'm referring to worked in Trump's Mar-a-Lago at
yeah.
the spa. Okay, she was a spa employee,
Right.
and Epstein was coming in, and the employees at the spa had went to Trump and saying, "Hey, this guy's kind of creepy." You know what I mean? And now reminder that Mar-a-Lago is open to the, I don't want to say the public, but to the rich public, and memberships and stuff that some of the rich people have in Mar-a-Lago as a golf resort. Okay, so the employees are coming to him and they're saying, "This guy's kind of creepy," blah blah blah. So Trump winds up kicking him out. So you got to go. Boom. But he comes back in again. I think he did, and this is when he was doing what Trump and the Trump employees referred to as stealing the employees. And it was just like if someone comes into work that owns a bigger, nicer restaurant than what you work at, and they come in, "Oh, you're a great worker, man. I'll give you double what you're making here to come to work for me." That's what happened in this case with that young lady. And so I think that to get back to your question, there was a informal relationship, a knowledge that Trump had with Epstein. When you're that level of richness, it's like he was, what's the word I'm looking for? He was aware of Epstein, but as being absolute friends, I don't know.
Enough to write him a birthday letter.
He may have been. He may have been. But I wrote birthday letters to people that I was acquainted with at work.
Right.
And, you might write a joke or something like that, but you didn't hang around. What I'm getting at is you didn't hang around with the guy. And the proof is in the pudding that Trump actually threw him out of Mar-a-Lago. And I think that says a lot. There's more. I don't want to get into what aboutism,
Right.
but there's more eyes looking at Clinton than anybody.
Oh yeah, sure.
And
The painting of him in the dress,
yeah,
which is insane, by the way. And like, what do you make of that? How do you even begin to explain that? Why Jeffrey Epstein has this painting in his house of Bill Clinton in a dress? What do you make of that?
what I make of it, that was actually in his place in New York.
Yeah.
Right. It actually wasn't at Epstein Island, but that was him reminding Clinton that I've got your butt if you try to do anything to me. and I think it was that. It was also a way to shame Clinton, embarrass Clinton.
Why?
I'm assuming, it might have been a power play, and it's total assumption on my part.
Did Clinton know about the painting?
I don't know. That I don't know. But I know that Hillary Clinton.
And he also had the one of George Bush like playing with the toys or something. It was.
I ain't never seen
No,
that.
there's one. It's kind of in the similar style of the Clinton one, and it's George Bush like kind of like sitting on the ground as like a kid, and he's like playing with blocks, but I think the blocks are like airplanes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, see, you're talking about George Bush Jr.
Yeah, the second one. Yeah.
The second one. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just based on what you described to me, because I haven't seen it, the narrative about Bush when he was president is that he was done.
Really, I didn't know that.
That was the narrative, and so that painting may have been reflecting that narrative.
Interesting.
Yeah, and but actually, he was very. I think because of his text, kind of his draw, the way he spoke, he might have been giving off that impression, that he wasn't exactly the sharpest tool in the shed,
right,
so to speak. But let's face it, to get to be president, I don't care, Democrat, whatever, you've got to have a certain level of intelligence. And even Joe Biden, in his prime, he had a certain level of intelligence. And, I didn't agree with him
with it coming out that he has cancer. I think that he's had it since he was in office, and they were working double overtime to cover it up.
Oh yeah, he prostate cancer is usually not something that comes on all at one time. It's very slow growing cancer.
But the news made it seem that he had it, and it just was. So Joe Biden diagnosed with cancer, but it's like he's already had cancer. It's like it's already stage whatever. It's already stage 3 or 4.
Yeah, and prostate cancer, I don't know what type of prostate cancer he has. He could have an aggressive form, but for the most part, prostate cancer is one of the slowest growing cancers there is. And if caught early, is one of the most treatable cancers.
Yeah, no, they absolutely knew about it while he was in office, and were doing everything to keep it under wraps.
I was more concerned with his cognitive abilities.
Really?
Yeah, I was extremely more concerned, not just when he was in office, but even when he was running for president, because I was seeing things that I'm going, did he just say this? And it would be something outlandish. And people would just write it up as a gaffe. And I'm going,
no. During legitimate official speeches, just stumbling over words.
Going off. I understand that I stutter to a certain degree. I understand that. But this was more than just stuttering. This was a man that had totally lost what he was talking about, and or even saying things that were so outlandish that he truly believed. So I think there was a lot of signs of that in Joe Biden. It only come out. I mean, this was when he was running for president,
and they forced him not to run again. He said he wanted to run again.
That was because of what happened in the debate against Trump.
He looked ridiculous.
His cognitive abilities really came out.
Yeah.
When you know that for at least 2 weeks prior to that debate, he was held up in his home, and my opinion was they was pumping him full of medications and stuff, and drilling him because they go through debate preparations, right, where they have fake debates set up. And I think they did too much on him. And then when he came in and actually debated with Trump, the one question, I can't remember what the question was, but he totally lost his train of thought, and he just went quiet. And he comes back, and we beat Medicaid like that. And Trump just pounced on it. You sure did. You beat it to death. That's what Trump responded to.
Yeah.
And I think everybody at that moment was shocked.
Right.
Absolutely shocked with what they just heard. Democratic Party was.
Do you have that concern as Trump reaches he's about to be 80? He's about to turn 80.
Well, no, because I constantly am watching. Believe it or not, I'm constantly watching his cognitive abilities. The man is sharp. Age a lot of times don't have an issue. There are people that turn 65, 70 years old with Alzheimer's, and they lose their cognitive abilities even at those ages.
Yeah.
My own grandfather died just a few months shy of 101 years old, and he was sharp as a tack.
Wow.
His mind was sharp as a tack. He walked with a single cane, drove until he was 95 years old.
Wow.
So age does have something to do with cognitive abilities, but there are exceptions to the rule. So anyway, I think we're going to wrap it up. You ready to wrap it up?
I guess. I thought we had more to talk about. That's fine.
Oh, we got some more. Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
that's fun.
Let's save it till next
We
time.
got we're gonna do our quiz. We can save
Let's
that till
do
next
that.
time.
Let's do that next time because we're at an hour and a half right now.
Yeah.
And but man, it's been great because I lose track of time and I look over and I look at the timer and I
Right.
go, oh wow. But it's been great, man. I really am really. You got me thinking about the Charlie the text of the killer,
Right.
the Charlie Kirk killer, and the other YouTuber that you was talking about that I'm going to have to go.
Nick
check.
Fuentes. Yeah, Nick Fuentes.
Nick Fuentes,
Yeah, he is legitimately racist, and it's not like, and I'm not a liberal or a leftist or a communist, or will accept that label by any means. But he is actually racist. That's kind of his gimmick, is that he's like a modern Nazi. That's
Really?
part of his
Okay.
appeal. Yeah. But let me ask you this: do you think George Floyd was murdered?
George Floyd.
Sure.
Oh,
Would you would you call it a murder? A murder?
Let me tell you this. Let me put it to you this way. Working in law enforcement for 22 years, okay, I know the movement that they did, the technique that they used. Believe it or not, the technique of him putting his knee in the back of George Floyd's neck is a legitimate technique. But if you watch the video, his knee is not actually on his neck; it's on the base of his neck, right here at the first notch where you're taught to put your knee. But on the other hand, okay, you're also taught. Here's the problem that I have with the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, you're taught that once he stops resisting, you stop the use of force. Okay. Derek Chauvin was the officer's name.
Yes.
He had stopped resisting. Period. Derek Chauvin wants to say, no, he was still resisting. Video shows different. In the video, it shows George Floyd laying there on his belly, not moving. Derek Chauvin has got his knee, not his neck, but on the base of his neck here. But I think that here's the key thing that a lot of people hadn't caught. Where's Derek Chauvin's hands at? Everybody knows
No, not really doing much. Kind of off to the side.
they're in his pockets.
Yeah.
If you think that guy is still resisting and is a threat to you or society, the last thing you're going to do is put your hands in your pockets.
So do you think what happened was pretty problematic?
It was very problematic in the technique that was being taught, and the fact that Derek Chauvin did not. I'm just looking at him in the video. There's no way that you can convince me that he thought that George Floyd was still a risk
Right.
or a problem.
And Charlie Kirk viciously defended it. He did.
And like I said, Charlie Kirk there are things that Charlie Kirk, I didn't agree with him on, but he didn't have the amount of training concerning that one area that I had for over 22 years. And I looked at that, and I think a lot of times people will look at stuff and they want to go with the overall opinion, but I looked at it and I saw Derek Chauvin's hands in his pockets.
Right.
And there, to me, that was the end of the discussion, because you're taught that once they stop resisting, you stop using force.
Right.
Now, you can hold them and restrain them down, and maybe that's what he was doing. I don't know. But if Derek Chauvin thought that George Floyd was still a risk and still a problem, he would not have had his hands in his pockets. So what? So
and you know, it's, you know, all this was 4 years ago, but I think it matters in relevance to Charlie Kirk. But you had, you know, the young lady Breonna Taylor, who, you know, the police had the wrong house. Louisville police, I believe it was Louisville. Louisville police not only had the wrong house, but then I did not identify themselves as Louisville police officers when they went in.
they have they had what they call a no-knock warrant.
But well, that shouldn't be a thing. It shouldn't be a thing. I don't care if you're raiding a drug house. I don't care if you're raiding a kiddie. You know, I'll just say it, a kiddie porn ring. Anything like that, you should have to ID yourself, and I don't think that people. I think that you have every right to open fire on officers if they don't.
Well, what they do on a no-knock warrant, and the reason why they have them, is because it is a very dangerous situation for the officers to be right outside of a door that they cannot see inside of, especially if you're serving a warrant. And they don't just serve no-knock warrants on
Right.
on somebody who didn't pay the rent on time. They're serving no-knock warrants on someone who is known to be a serious threat.
Right.
And so,
And you can, and people will disagree with me, and you may disagree with me. You should be, I think, if you're a police officer, if you're kicking down someone else's door, a door that is not yours, you should be in that risk. I do, and that's
the thing is that is there for the safety of the officers, and there's going to be mistakes like this that has happened. Okay,
where they're at the wrong house,
where they're at the wrong house, and problems happen. They didn't go out with the intent to kill Miss Taylor, right?
Right.
But if you look in a year's time, how many thousands and thousands of no-knock warrants that are served
Right.
without any issue.
Right.
But the police, I might add, once they're in control of the situation, do identify themselves. They have to. And not only do identify, they're read, the victim or the suspects are read their rights and everything.
Can I make a tough statement?
Of course.
How should I put this?
I don't know.
Freedom comes before officer safety.
Okay. Yeah. And that's a good statement, man. You got that one.
That's what I think. And I don't want to go to say that I don't care about officer safety, but people's rights triumph officer safety. That officer safety is on the back burner when you're talking about people's constitutional liberties. I believe that's what it is. I don't think that. I think people have if somebody's kicking down their door at 3 a.m., you should open fire on them. You should mag dump them. You should, and you should have the right to do that.
And that is the risk. And, you know, a lot of states don't allow no-knock warrants.
I don't think they should.
And some states don't. So that's goes right back to what I've always said. You know, elections have consequences, and
Right.
that's one of those things where you pick the people that represent you to represent your values. You
Right.
see what I mean? So that's a good point.
Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro and all those other YouTube bros were going on TV, and I'm not really being critical about it and just saying that they all had it coming and that they all deserve to die. And I refuse to buy into it. And police brutality is a big thing, and it's not even against black people. It's
How many? Let me ask you this: year before last, I'm not sure about last year.
Yeah.
But year before last, how many unarmed black people did? Or how many unarmed people did the police shoot?
How many?
How many?
Probably 1,000.
Not even
Less.
Close. Not even close. Not the number that I'm going to tell you is absolutely shocking.
Okay.
19.
But those 19 cases matter because they are precedent
Wait a
setting.
minute. Wait a minute. 19. When I say unarmed, doesn't mean that they didn't have the capability to kill a cop. Okay. So 19. So in some of those, there were cases of vehicles running at officers and stuff like that, which at that point a vehicle becomes a weapon and all this other stuff.
Right.
19. Out of all the thousands and thousands, and I'm not saying that to make you feel dumb or anything.
Right. No.
Because most people would say that, would give the exact answer that you did. It's kind of a gotcha question. Because most people would give the answer that you gave.
Which is what?
Thousands of
Sure.
shootings. Right. And when they
Well, not necessarily. I mean, thousands of. Police brutality doesn't constitute a killing. There was a young man, I believe it was 2 or 3 Fridays ago, that was brutally assaulted by Tryon police officers at a football game, who last I heard was in the hospital with blood clots, and that's police brutality. I think any unfair treatment by the police to a citizen, I would call police brutality.
Sure.
And I'm sick and tired of seeing this back the blue. And I'm not a back the blue. I'd say I'm the furthest thing from back the blue. I think that cops are the enforcers of tyranny, and that's a tough thing to say, but I don't find them to protect the people's interests. And that's easy for me to say until there's a tragedy and I need to call the cops.
How many officers you ever saw that made an arrest? How many officers last week made an arrest with no issues did you see in the news?
How many? Well, obviously they don't make the news because there was no issue.
Right. How many thousands of arrests do you think happened in the United States last week?
Plenty.
How many of those arrests did you actually see in the news?
Not many. Only the ridiculous ones.
Only the ridiculous ones. Why? Because the left would lead you to believe that there's a bigger issue than what there really is. I'm not saying that there's not some officers that would abuse their authority. But what I'm saying is the issue is not as big as what the news media would make you believe. Because the only ones you're going to see, the only ones you're ever going to see is the bad ones. You're never going to see, you never see on the news, and I'm talking about news. You might see them in some video program or some video on YouTube. You'll never see the officer that helped give birth to a baby that was born in a car on the side of the road.
Right.
You never see an officer give CPR to a woman or a man that's dying on the side of the road. You never see those things. Why? Because it's not newsworthy. But if you have a cop that acts a fool and slams somebody to the ground unjustifiably, you'll see him plastered all over
when
the
your
news.
9-to-5 job is to trample on people's rights, you're not a hero.
How is, all right, let's go there. How is it when an officer's legitimately doing his job, how is he trampling on somebody's rights?
Well, it's a question of what job he's doing. You know, what is it? So what is the officer
He's a police
doing in
officer.
question?
He's a police officer.
So he spends every day. So what is something you can get in trouble for being a police officer for? Riding with no insurance. That's complete. And you can get into how the insurance companies have completely bought out the government.
I can get into how that come about because I was alive when that came about.
Right, but most of what they're doing is out there collecting funds and making money for the city or making money for the county, and
But
there's nothing brave or noble about that.
You said trampling on somebody's rights.
Sure.
That's what. Let's do it again. How many? Give me one example of what a police officer in his daily job does that tramples on your rights.
Pulls people over for driving with no insurance. I mean,
No.
again, you're not.
No. A police officer don't pull you over for driving without any insurance.
Right.
Because there's no way for him to know if you've got any insurance.
Yeah,
or
he
not.
can read your plate. I know that happened to me. I was pulled over
He
for
can
no
read
reason.
your plates. Okay.
Yes.
If he reads your plates and you come back and you don't have any insurance, guess what? It's because here the law in the state of Georgia happened to me too. Don't think it hasn't.
No,
happened to me.
right.
It happened to me because if you cancel your insurance, and I know how it happens, if you cancel your insurance and you still have a tag that's still registered here in Georgia,
Right.
they want your license.
Right.
Am I right?
Yes.
Is that what happened to you?
No. So I had a kind of a unique situation with what went down. It was just a paperwork ball drop, basically, is what happened, and
But I'm talking about the officer that pulled you over.
Yes.
All this administrative stuff.
right.
What did he do? Would that violate your rights?
Pulled me over and towed my vehicle in the pouring rain, and told me
But why?
because it's his job. Because it was his job.
No. I'm not asking that.
Well, because driving with no insurance is illegal. Yeah.
There you go. And why did that law come about? I can tell you why.
Why?
I was alive when all that did. I don't necessarily agree. I think there should have been other stipulations that was brought in
Right.
to play. But like if we was out on the road, you're driving with no insurance and you hit my car, I'm shit out of luck because you
Right.
don't have any way of paying for the damage you just did to my car.
Yeah.
See, that's why the insurance thing come about where they made insurance mandatory. I remember when it wasn't mandatory. And but that's why insurance was mandatory. But what the government failed to do is when they made this insurance mandatory, they failed to put legal caps on the amount of on the cost of the insurance. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So far. So what they was dependent on, they depended on free market that would keep the insurance prices down when you had insurance companies
Right.
competing against one another. But what they failed to realize is the way these insurance companies combined together to regulate their prices, and the consumer wound up paying much more
Right.
than what the government thought. Wound up paying much more for insurance. You see what I mean? So even still today, I think there should be caps put on the amount of money that they can charge you for insurance. I think there was laws that was passed here in Georgia in order to do away with the what they called it, the previous. Anyway, there was laws that was put in favor here in the state of Georgia against insurance that helped us out a lot, but they still need to go a lot further.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing. But anyway, buddy, we got to wrap this
That's
thing
fine.
up.
That's fine.
But we'll look at taking our tests and stuff the next time around, guys. Hey, we appreciate everyone that's watched the video. You don't have to watch it all the way through. You can watch a little bit of it. You can come back and watch it again. Right. You know, we enjoy having these discussions. We thank you for joining in and
we should do
listening.
it again.
Yeah, we're going to definitely do it again. We need to do it live.
Yeah.
You know, and when we do it live, we'll open up the chat so that people can jump in.
Right.
But till next time, guys, I love each and every one of you. Appreciate it. This is Carl Tucker at Tucker Talk TV. This is Ethan Wallen. Appreciate you guys.
Signing out.
Peace out.